It is the Igor Shesterkin show. Igor looks every bit the part of a championship caliber tender in the Game 3 win over the Capitals. We're going to discuss what was most important about his performance in this win. Plus, the Rangers are dominating the shift after a goal. Wait, what?
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 1055 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or on Google Play. And we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Rangers putting together a solid 3-1 road victory against the Washington Capitals and taking a commanding 3-0 lead in the best-of-7 series. And it wasn't perfect for the Rangers. You know, I thought, unfortunately, one kind of, opposite of silver lining of this game is that it felt like the Rangers had a good start. And then as the game continued, they started spending less and less time in the offensive zone, started creating fewer and fewer scoring chances. And overall played, solid defense. Certainly the penalty kill was unbelievable. 5v5 defense was solid, if unspectacular. But who was spectacular? Well, that would be Igor Shesterkin. He stopped 28 of 29 shots in this win here, and that's obviously a very impressive stat line any way that you slice it at any level of hockey. However, it goes beyond that. The most impressive aspect of this performance for Igor Shesterkin, at least for me, is going to be the way that he responded to some early adversity. The only goal that he allowed in this game was kind of a soft goal scored by Karlsson. Basically, what happened on the play, innocent enough looking play, the Caps get the blue line, and Karlsson's from pretty far away, takes a shot from pretty far out, and you've got Mika Zibanejad. Now, I'm not blaming Mika here. I mean, he's trying to make a play on the puck. He's trying to disrupt the shot, the scoring opportunity, and trying to make a play with his stick to do so. And Karlsson takes the shot, and it gets deflected. Mika's reaching with his stick. The puck gets deflected and kind of just flutters kind of weird at the goal, a little bit of a changeup. And it gets past Igor Shesterkin, goes into the net, and the Capitals get up 1-0. And Igor, shook it off pretty quickly, turned around, took the sip of the Gatorade or the water or whatever it is that he's got there, and went right back to work. Did not allow another goal the rest of the way and made some spectacular saves. But I just thought the way he responded to this early adversity was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the Capitals, they come into this game down 2-0. They're back home. They need to get some life in the building and have a reason to feel good. And they got that early, but Igor, just clamped down after that, would not allow the puck to get by him the rest of the night. Just made some unbelievable saves, a lot of different kinds of saves as well. Case in point, how about an acrobatic save in the second period? You've got Karlsson taking a shot, the save was made, and then Milano gets the loose puck behind the Ranger net, passes in front to Pacioretty. I thought this was in the net, and so did the Capitals fans. You could hear there was a loud cheer coming from Caps fans at this point in the game. They thought the puck was in, but Igor had other ideas. He slid hard to his right, just an excellent save there. Pad save, kind of falling backward into the net while this is happening was Igor Shesterkin. So an acrobatic save there. How about a save where he bails out one of his teammates? Well, we got that too. That also happened in the second period. Alex Wennberg with a rare miscue. I've been praising Wennberg recently, and I do think that was a really nice pickup for the Rangers right before the deadline there. Just a solid defensive forward, a smart player. But unfortunately, in this case, like I said, rare miscue, passes out of the corner on the Rangers side of the ice, right to LaPierre. The only problem is that LaPierre plays for the Capitals, but Igor reads it all the way. He sees what's happening. He comes way up in his crease and just smothers the shot, hangs on, does not allow a rebound. Point-blank save there from Igor. And then another one in the third period, kind of using his smarts here. You got a situation where The Rangers are shorthanded. I mean, what else is new? That's kind of an evergreen statement for this entire game because of how many penalties were being called. However, just a great play here by Igor. You had a pass being made across the ice. Tom Wilson was kind of on the doorstep and somewhat uncovered, and Igor read the play all the way, reached out with his stick, knocked the puck out of harm's way. This is right after Igor had made a save on Wilson not too long before this. Got it right in the stomach, squirted up really nicely. Just good stuff all around. Igor really did it all in this game. And something else that I love is just the mental side of this game for Igor Shesterkin. It's one of those games where felt like he was very in control of himself and his emotions out there. Just stayed very even keeled, very cool, calm, and collected. Didn't get involved in any extracurriculars in this game. We've seen Igor mix it up a couple of times this season, including in game 2. Or was it? It was game 2. It was right after the Panarin hit on Oshie. And there was kind of, there's stuff happening all over the rink at that point. And Lindgren and Ovechkin are going at it. There was another Capital down there too. Igor kind of took a swipe at the other Capital. So he didn't get involved in any of that stuff. Just stayed, again, cool, calm, collected, made all the saves. And as far as, his ability to do that, to stay even keeled, I mean, give credit to Igor first and foremost. There we go. We got it. First and foremost. Give credit to the coaches, specifically Benoit Allaire. He does a great job with these Ranger goalies over the years. Jonathan Quick as well. Obviously he's been a great influence in that Ranger locker room. And I think that Igor certainly has benefited from having Jonathan Quick around this season. And of course, we got the Igor special. He had to do it. He couldn't help himself. He had to take a shot at the empty net with the clock winding down. Now, I like to think that the only reason he did this, given that it's a playoff game, is because the Rangers were up by 2 goals, not by 1. There was less than a minute left at this point. So you've got, a slight margin for error there. I'm conflicted on this. Like, on one hand, I want to see a goalie goal, and I want to see Igor Shesterkin do it. That would be awesome. We saw Louis Domingue do it for the Hartford Wolfpack. I don't know how many of you guys caught that. Maybe about like a week or 2 ago is when Domingue scored an empty netter, and that actually sealed a playoff appearance for the Wolfpack. But regardless, we want to see Igor Shesterkin pull it off. It's the playoffs. There's part of me that just wants to see him play it safe, and let's not mess around here. Let's make sure we get the win. Up by 2 goals, though. I'll cut him some slack. And I'll be honest, once the puck went to Igor, he had to glove it, put it down on the ice. And as he's kind of setting up, I said to the TV, I just said, do it. Like take this shot. He cleared it into the neutral zone. And I think it was actually Ovechkin who gloved it down. I don't think it was going into the net. It would have been nice to see what happened or how close he would have gotten. It didn't happen. But regardless, just an awesome performance from Igor Shesterkin, the best player on the ice in this game. And cliche or not, we try to stay away from cliches on here. I'm going to go to one right now. You need your goalie to be your best penalty killer. And with all respect to all the Ranger skaters that were out there for the penalty kill in this game, and there were a lot of them. There were a lot of minutes being logged, shorthanded minutes being logged for the Ranger skaters. But Igor was the best of the bunch. He did a great job. He faced 8 shots while the Rangers were shorthanded, stopped all 8 of them, and made some of his best saves in those situations as well. So just a fantastic performance from a fantastic goalie. It's just what we've come to expect. He's been great in the first 2 games. In some ways, there's times where I'll kind of not talk about Igor as much as I feel like I should, but it's just, he's such a great goalie, and we pretty much know what we sign up for with Igor Shesterkin. We know the kind of performances he's going to have. Any goalie can have a bad stretch every once in a while. We saw that from Igor earlier this season, but he just does a heck of a job for this team. It was great in games 1 and 2, but really stole the show here in game 3. And the biggest reason of anything why the Rangers now lead this series 3-0. So we're going to keep everything rolling in just a second. I want to talk about the Rangers now. After struggling with this all season, they are the team apparently that dominates the shift following a goal. We saw that in this game. We've seen it basically throughout this series as well. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Also want to talk about the penalties just being completely out of control in this series. I mean, both ways, but especially the amount of penalties being called on the Rangers. We will get to that in just a second. But first, we definitely would like to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could handpick the best stars for your business team? If you're building your talent roster, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessments, and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Indeed's US data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed matches their job description the moment that they sponsor a job. Indeed knows that when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That is why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/locked-on to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on, Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing, not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, let's go ahead and keep it rolling here. It is late, guys. It's getting toward midnight here, but we're keep grinding our way through this and obviously enjoy this Ranger win here together. So for the everydayers, definitely stick around. Come back for the next episode. The next episode, we're going to be talking about whatever happens in Game 4 between the Rangers and Capitals. Hopefully the Rangers can finish them off. You got to think there's going to be some pushback at some point from the Capitals. We'll see what happens, but the Rangers are playing well, finding ways to win, the mark of a good team and a Stanley Cup contending team as well. But we got to talk about what the Rangers have done on the shift following a goal, the complete 180 that the Blue Shirts have enjoyed in this area of the game from, the better part of the season. I would at least 2/3 of the season. This was a problem for the Rangers. It was basically a problem all year. And then down the stretch, they started to get better in those situations, not only not giving up goals and scoring opportunities in the shift that follows a goal, but creating some themselves. And, let me just say, it was just wild to think that even like a bad team or like a mediocre, like a middle of the road kind of a team could be as consistently bad in the shift that follows a goal as the Rangers were this season. The Rangers are not a bad team. They're not a mediocre team. They're the President's Trophy winning team and the team that now leads this series 3-0. But their struggles in the shift that follows a goal or, at least the immediate aftermath of a goal. Maybe it's not always the literal next shift. But in the time that, immediately follows a goal, the Rangers have problems. I talked about this a lot during the regular season. We're talking about it again now because it really was a continuous problem. It really was that bad. And I said, if this continues to be an issue and this becomes the reason why the Rangers, can't make a deep run or why they get bumped early or whatever the case might be, I'm going to be absolutely sick about that because and this is something that I mentioned earlier in the season during one of our basically group therapy sessions that I had, talking about this issue. There's no real tangible reason why the Rangers should be that bad in the shift that follows a goal. It just never really made any sense to me. The Rangers are a good defensive team in general. They tend to show up and play with a lot of focus, a lot of energy every single night. Again, 82 games. Any team in the NHL is going to have an off night when you're dealing with that many games. Rangers are no exception there. They had their off nights every once in a while. But for the most part, very focused, very driven team that plays with urgency, plays with pace, and just not the kind of thing that should happen to them. A couple of years ago, you could understand it. Young team, inexperienced team, a team that's learning how to win. This team knows how to win, and yet that was a problem over and over and over again. But now, you talk about a complete 180 down the stretch, and now when they need it the most in the playoffs, the Rangers are absolutely killing it in the shift that follows a goal. Again, not just a stalemate in the shift that follows a goal. They have completely flipped the script, a total 180. Look at Game 1. You've got a scoreless first period. Rangers stuck with it. It was a little bit of a stalemate. Rangers hung in there. And then in the span of just 2 minutes and 6 seconds in the second period, Rangers just go off. They explode. You get goals from Rempe, Panarin, and VZ. Just like that, a scoreless game is now 3-0 Rangers in the span of just barely over 2 minutes. And the Rangers were, stepping on the gas in the shift that followed a goal. That was awesome to see. Tom Wilson, after Game 1, was saying something about how, that they only outplayed us for 5 minutes. And I disagree with that. I get why he says that. He's trying to talk his team up or whatever. But no, the Rangers absolutely outplayed the Capitals in Game 1. It just happened to be that little stretch there where they were scoring all their goals. But it was awesome to see them continue to play with urgency and, the kind of jump that you need come playoff hockey time. And that was awesome. And it obviously keyed the Game 1 win. How about Game 2? You've got the Capitals going up 1-0 on a goal by McMichael. Trocheck then ties it less than 3 minutes later. So a great response there by the Rangers. Also, in the second period of game 2, you've got Roslovic and Miller. The two of them scored about 4 minutes apart in the second period, and we're stretching it a little bit there. 4 minutes isn't exactly the immediate aftermath, but still, the Rangers kept playing well after a goal was scored. They actually did take a penalty. Roslovic scored on the power play, and then you had Miller scoring while the Rangers are shorthanded. Nevertheless, though, the Rangers staying focused in the not quite immediate aftermath of a goal being scored, but not too far after that either. So that was great to see. And then game 3 here, again, Capitals go up 1-0. They get the goal from Carlson, and then you've got just 34 seconds after that happened, Roslovic to Mika Zibanejad. Mika Zibanejad takes a shot and he scores, or rather, it was Kreider who scored. Kreider redirected the shot and put it into the net, and that tied the game at 1-1. And then literally exactly 2 minutes after that, you've got Barclay Goodrow with a shorthanded goal. The Rangers actually lost the faceoff. Ovechkin took a shot. I don't think it got through. I think the shot was blocked on the way to the net. But either way, Rangers off to the races. Trocheck centers for Goodrow. Goodrow cleans it up from the doorstep. And what did we say? Quick aside here in our last episode. Barclay Goodrow was our unsung hero from the last game. He's somebody that's just built for playoff hockey. It kind of reminds me of Brian Boyle. Boyle was a solid, fourth-line player for the Rangers. He didn't really score a lot in the regular season, but then it felt like he would end up having as many points in the playoffs as he did in the regular season. And Barclay Goodrow, man, he's just one of those guys that does a little bit of everything, a blue-collar player, a hard worker. And those are all things that, you play up a little bit when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that was great to see. But regardless, bottom line, Rangers now killing it in the shift that follows the goal. And that's what good teams do. Good teams have to be sharp in situations like that. You talk about, the aftermath of a goal, the start of the period, the end of a period, obviously crunch time down the stretch. If it's a one-goal game, one way or the other, and you're down to like 4 minutes or 5 minutes to go in the game, the best teams, they're at their best in spots like that. And obviously the Rangers handling their business on the shift that follows the goal. And what a relief, and how much more fun is it to be the team that's razor sharp after a goal is scored rather than the team that falls asleep at the wheel. And we did see the Rangers do that numerous times, way too many times throughout the regular season. They got it together down the home stretch, and they have absolutely excelled in that area in the playoffs. So awesome to see. We're keep everything rolling in just a second. I'm going to have an unsung hero from this game. Also going to talk about the Rangers penalties being out of control and the need to fix that going forward. Of course, it's not all on them. The refs are calling things pretty tight, and they were pretty trigger happy when it came to penalties in this game. But regardless, we're going to talk about all that in just a second. First, though, we definitely would like to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I've been told I'm a competitive person, and really we all have a competitive side, and my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded more than 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly, but now I can also heist their vaults of riches for myself. And the leaderboards show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or on Google Play. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so let's go ahead and keep everything rolling here. I want to wrap up today's episode by talking a little bit about this penalty epidemic that is kind of befallen this series here. it does seem like the refs are calling things tight, but then we get some situations like we saw in game 2 where some obvious penalties. I don't want to go through all of them again, but one that certainly comes to mind is Artemi Panarin taking a high stick from TJ Oshie. Nothing was called there. The good news is that the Ranger penalty kill, despite all these penalties being called both ways, but especially against the Rangers, it would seem, the Ranger PK stepping up huge. The Capitals go 0 for 6 in this game. The Rangers, for what it was worth, went 1 for 4 on their power play. And as far as the calls themselves in this game, like I said, I'm not going to break down every single one of them. I'm not going to go through all 6 penalties called against the Rangers. A couple felt a little bit ticky-tack. There's 2 that I'll point to, and then we'll kind of move on and talk about the penalties, how that's affecting the Rangers and if there's a way to get this under control. But the 2 that felt a little bit ticky-tack to me, the Rempe penalty on Van Riemsdyk. Now, they called him for interference. And I thought what could have been called here maybe is elbowing. I don't think it was anything malicious. It's not like the hit that Rempe put on the Devils this year. That was suspension worthy, and he did indeed end up getting suspended 4 games for that. But he catches Trevor Van Riemsdyk with the elbow. Again, I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think it was malicious, but they called Rempe for interference. Van Riemsdyk had just had the puck, and he had moved it up the boards. You are allowed to finish your check. You don't have to, just disappear, turn into a ghost the second that somebody gets rid of the puck. You are allowed to finish your check, and they called Rempe for this penalty, and all he's doing is playing hockey and being bigger than his opponent. It was a bone-crunching hit, and obviously we hope Van Riemsdyk is okay. He did not come back to this game. And again, if they wanted to call Rempe for an elbow here, okay, I would have been okay with that because he did catch him with his elbow a little bit, intentionally or not. But they called him for interference, which is ridiculous. Never should have been called an interference penalty. And the other one was the hooking penalty on Wenberg. His stick was there, and he's trying to stop Pacioretty as Pacioretty's going over the Ranger blue line. I do think Pacioretty kind of helped this one along a little bit. Almost looked like he took a little bit of a dive, knew it would look bad, and Wenberg heads to the penalty box. But to break this whole situation down as far as, the penalties being called and everything, obviously there have been 3 games played in the series. The Capitals have had 15 power plays, basically 5 per game. There were 3 in the first period alone in this game. The good news, again, the Ranger PK has been awesome. The Capitals in this series, again, 15 power plays, just 2 goals. And what's also interesting about that is that the Rangers, their penalty kill has 2 shorthanded goals. So 15 power play opportunities for the Capitals, and all they've got out of it is a 2-2 tie with the Rangers. Obviously, in this game, Goodrow had the shorty. The game before this, it was K'Andre Miller who had the shorthanded goal, and that was actually the game winner. And for that matter, the Goodrow goal in this game was also the game winner because that put the Rangers up 2-1, and they never, trailed again, and the Capitals didn't get any more goals. So good stuff there. So yeah, think about that. 2 game-winning shorthanded goals in the last 2 games for the Rangers, and coming from Barclay Goodrow and K'Andre Miller. Just great stuff all around. But as far as all the penalties, look, this is too much for the Rangers to be taking. You can't continue to take penalties at this high of a clip and live to tell about it and expect to be the last team standing. I know they have a great penalty kill, and that helps a little bit. But, watching this game, I'm thinking, like, are they just going to keep, taking penalties, and are the refs just going to keep calling penalties until the Capitals score? Like, it's just going to be one after the next, after the next, after the next. Again, some of these penalties were justified for the refs to call them. Others were not. But you're playing with fire here if you're the Rangers. And I know the Caps have struggled a little bit, but they had a good power play down the stretch. And if the Rangers do advance in the playoffs, and take nothing for granted here, look, they're in a good spot. A series is never over until somebody wins 4 games. That's always what I say. I do believe that. But if the Rangers do advance, they're probably going to have to deal with the Canes, because the Canes right now are up 3-0 on the Islanders. The Canes in the regular season, a power play success rate of 26.9%. That is the second highest in the league. Tampa Bay was first, and the Rangers were third. So those are the only 2 teams that finish ahead of the Rangers in power play efficiency in the regular season. But yeah, I mean, you cannot be taking 5 penalties a night against a team like the Carolina Hurricanes. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. You know what? You can't be taking 5 penalties a night in a game against the Capitals either, because sooner or later, they're going to get a couple of goals. Eventually the dam will break, you have to think. So at a certain point, the Rangers do need to clean it up a little bit. Again, I thought some of these penalties tonight were not justified, but some of them were, and some of them were unnecessary. At least one in the offensive zone for the Rangers, and just some penalties that they didn't really need to be taking. Be that as it may, PK stepped up big. That's what good teams do. Rangers power play units continue to be a big-time strength for this team, and that's obviously very nice to see. We do want to give out an Unsung Hero Award. I'm going to go with Jack Roslovic. I thought Roslovic had kind of an under-the-radar, solid game for the Rangers. His speed was on full display in this game. Obviously, he had the big goal in game 2. That gave the Rangers the lead for good. That absolute snipe that he had from the sharp angle. He had a really good takeaway in the offensive zone of this game. Led to a really long possession for the Rangers. That was in the second period. And he had a steal later in this game, too. The Rangers in the third period spent basically no time on the Capitals side of the ice. And it was looking like a situation where they finally got the blue line. They finally got into the offensive zone. And it was looking like it was going to be one and done. Capitals were going to skate away with the puck. But Roslovic stole the puck. He intercepted a pass, kept it in the Capitals zone. Nothing really came of it, but the puck at that point probably stayed in the Capital zone for an extra 15 seconds or so. And that doesn't sound like much. And really, it's not that much. But at that point in the game, Rangers were up 3-1, and they were playing the entire third period in their own zone. They needed to spend any amount of time in the Capital zone. And they at least did that. It gave everybody a little bit of a reprieve. Igor could probably, catch his breath a little bit because he was under fire at parts of the third period. But yeah, overall, again, he didn't do anything spectacular in this game. I just thought Roslovic, he's starting to look a little more comfortable, starting to look a little bit better. And, we have this kind of ongoing internal debate amongst all of us Ranger fans here, where if Filipino does get back into this lineup, who comes out? It's a really good question. I don't think they would pull Rempe out. I certainly don't think they would against the Capitals, because you could see some trouble there. So I don't think that'll happen. I don't think they would pull out VZ or Goodrow. Goodrow is playing the best we've seen him play all season. VZ's a reliable player as well. I think Wenberg is safe. So you're kind of running out of options. To me, Roslovic might still be the odd man out. It's a tough call. But we'll see what happens if Hedl is able to dress at some point in this series, in the next series, whatever the case might be. We'll see if Philip Hedl at one time or another is deemed available for the Rangers. But for what it's worth, by the way, while we're talking about Hedl here, he is with the Rangers in DC right now. So never say never. Could we see him in game 4? It's at least possible. We'll see. They may not want to mess with the lineup given that, things are obviously going well and they are up 3-0. Figure we can pretty much wrap it up there. One more thing I wanted to follow up on from our last episode is I talked about how the Rangers are still looking for that knockout punch in these games, and another game here where they didn't really get it. They were up 3-1, and the first half of the third period I thought was a little shaky for the Rangers. The second half of it, no offense whatsoever, but I thought they at least tightened things up defensively and, kind of played to the scoreboard, concentrating on defense first. As far as a knockout punch, though, it's hard to land a knockout punch when you don't throw any punches. The Rangers went about 14 minutes, the first 14 minutes of the third period without a single shot on goal. They ended up getting 5 by the end of the game to 14 for the Capitals in the third period. So again, looking for that knockout punch, and maybe they get in game 4. We'll see what happens there. But figure we can call it there. One last note here: the Hartford Wolfpack season going to be on the line tomorrow, Saturday, or we're past midnight now, so it is today at this point. Pack plays Charlotte at 4:00. They are down 1-0 in their best of 3 with Charlotte. In the AHL, certain teams get buys, other teams don't. Obviously, it depends on how well you did in the regular season. The Wolfpack, not one of the teams fortunate enough to get a bye. They're a 5 seed. Charlotte is a 4 seed. They lost game 1 by a final score of 3-1. So season on the line on Saturday for the Wolfpack. We'll see what happens there. And then if they are able to win that game, game 3, the decisive game 3, would be on Sunday, also at 4 p.m. So we'll obviously keep an eye on the Pack. Rangers are going to, obviously be the priority on this show, but always good to check in on the Pack whenever we can. And that's the update. Season on the line for the Wolfpack in about, I don't know, what is that, 16 hours? We're just past midnight here. So We'll keep an eye on that one tomorrow for sure. But that will do it for today, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well at LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is at LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to the Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.